It is my pleasure to be here in Philadelphia at PAFA. Better use these. You all have my greetings and my thanks for the various reasons that you are here. I thank President David Brigham, Dean Juka, the general staff, the graduating students, their families and friends who are seeing with the wisdom of their hearts the value of today. If these words were in a straight line universe, they would not be my response to how we cross the Niger, the Congo, the Limpopo, the Thames or the Seine, the various ways that we arrived here in this place called America or called the United States. We got here is a miracle. People argue now about whether there should be immigrants or not. I think we all know the answer already because we're already here. When we depart for our future in the spirals in the space of the art world on planet Earth, we all arrive with talent and intuition ready for action. You're graduating. You're ready for the action. Okay. Hopefully you will experiment, invent, and innovatively create new solutions. We have continued to migrate, carrying technology that's new, and it can be an asset in music, it can be an asset in visual art, new sound and science based on something I saw yesterday and we're all familiar with, but it was a newborn baby with eyes closed being pushed forward by her grandmother. I'm 79, the baby was probably 3 or 4 days old. My mother called me a few days ago to wish me a happy birthday and wanted to know how's her baby. Okay. The humane concepts of development that we're working toward equal another renaissance. Eyes not yet open, the aesthetic piece is better than more. Social expression has social protest within. The early detection of cancer, the early detection of war, diabetes and urban decay are things we need to be aware of, and I know you will work on, because that's a part of the future. It means we have something to do. You have something to do. Art challenges us all over the world. Art is complementary, schools of vision, and this is one. There are artworks to do. You know, paint, clay, steel, and glass. You know, empty space, empty canvas, and then you produce the things that will make those viable places more viable than they were, or will repair the harm that we've created by doing what we as human beings do. If art is growth, that means structures are to be built, new thinking for progress. Third world art, life of art, world trust. If I say names like Mozambique to Zimbabwe, Nigeria to Japan, art and hard work, a lucky artist, cyber art to clear the path for the future, for free motion, art education. Well, education for all, an important thing, and many of you know this reality. And education costs a great deal now. The debt is like you've bought a house. And we're a wise enough society to know that if you educate everybody, the payment is automatically profitable. All you have to be able to do is think and count. Do artists know how to think and count? Do we know how to measure? Do we know how to evaluate the nature of life and the world we live in? Well, I'm positive that we do. My father, when he was about 60 or so, was looking for a job. He had one, but he wasn't sure he'd keep it. And he said, well, he was born with the job, the need to survive, and we can never lose it. Always be progressive. Goodbye here is hello there. Move to find your own way, to keep your balance, to follow your hunches. The solid evidence of the truth comes from the circle of discovery in the unknown. You don't know what you're going to come to in the development of your work. I know that to be a reality as an artist. And what you don't know is probably going to give you your best surprises. You could say, stop, look, and listen to the cliche of urban non-planning, and cities all over the country have examples of us trying to address what we've neglected as societies, what we have not kept up. Is that a part of the artist's life? Absolutely. As was said earlier, societies are remembered by their art. I would extend that and say societies are ultimately judged by the aesthetics that they left to the world, that is, ways of thinking. And the evidence is found in the art and the architecture. You know. I was in Arizona a few years ago, and there was an old or no longer used copper mine. And there was an incredible hole in the earth, and that was Arizona. You go a few hundred miles north and you see one of the greatest holes that nature ever put together in the North American hemisphere, the Grand Canyon. And if you go through that region, you see the wonders of nature. I hope what we do as human beings will ultimately be strong enough that what we've done is considered a wonder, or wonders plural, of nature. Because there are already many people in the world, and it will double in the next 20 years. I grew up in Houston, Texas. It's an oil-based world and economy. But I first basically had my art experiences there to begin. The seed in me to go the path of art, and I didn't know what ways the path would take me. In Houston, they call the route the Old Spanish Trail. In Los Angeles, that same route is called Imperial Highway. When I was a boy in Dayton, Ohio, because I lived there for five years, it was the period when World War II ended. I remember the day a plane flew over a siren. Well, Dayton is the home of the men that invented flying, the Wright brothers. So there was an airfield where innovative exhibitions every summer of aircraft. I would think somewhere in my thinking, the forms that I've started to pay attention to that had to do with flight translate themselves somewhere to my sculpture now. I know an artist who was born and lived 10 miles from Hiroshima, and that's where he was when the atomic bomb was dropped. and he and relatives went the next few days looking for relatives. Later, he came to the United States, studied art in Los Angeles and New York, went back to Japan on a Fulbright. I went to Hiroshima in 1993. I went to the site, I rang the peace bell. Our president, I think this week, is visiting Hiroshima. You see, the difference in all of this for all of us, as far as I can see, will we be constructive and developmental, or will we use our aesthetic abilities to do destructive things? I would opt for the constructive. I would hope that those are the directions that you will find important to you. It was acknowledged earlier that there have been artists from here who, and when I say here, PAFA, who've gone out into the world and made their lives. One of them is Henry O. Tanner, and I paid a bit of attention to his life, and that he had to leave this country to go to another country to find his way. Well, people leave a lot of places in the world and they go other places to find their way. But Tanner became very important to a lot of people and encouraging to, in particular, African Americans, but in particular to people who've studied and become significant with their work. You see, if you want to really survive in art, you have to keep on liking what you do. You have to keep on liking to make art, wanting to make art. The other stuff, it will come as you are able to use it. But the internal thing, the internal desire to make art is always there. I guess I'd better end this. I won't quite call it a speech. I hope you feel that I'm talking to you as a friend and as a person with the same basic concerns. I'm happy to be here at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Art, for it's clear it's an institution pointing to the future. You can say from Texas, because that's where I'm from, originally. But they never invited me to talk. So I'm going to claim Pennsylvania, and I'm going to claim the Academy. And I'm going to thank you for pointing to the future for all of the peoples that you've worked with and developed through the years. For if a place can point to the future by training and helping them develop, then they're creating a very fine point. And as a sculptor who works with steel, I know the value of being able to create a very fine point. The points of action here are the graduates. You will go out into the world and you will make the collective mark that says creativity is important and valuable to us all. And I thank you for your efforts. I thank your families for supporting you. And I thank the Academy for everything that's happening here today and in its future, which I have great hopes for. Thank you.